Neville Goddard didn't leave behind a philosophy. He left behind something closer to a cheat code. 5 exact moves that hack the system rendering your money right now. Most people never get past the first one, and almost everyone botches step 4, which is why their results work for 2 days and then vanish. So before you try another affirmation or vision board, understand this. Money isn't out there waiting to be earned. It's an output. Your consciousness is the engine rendering it, and it's been running one assumption on a loop, the one you never chose on purpose. Tonight, you're going to choose it on purpose, step by step. Here's exactly how Neville would hack the universe for money. Let me say the part nobody wants to hear first. The reason you are still waiting for money is not that you haven't worked hard enough. It is not that you haven't visualized enough, or said the right affirmation enough times, or found the perfect manifestation method on the internet. The reason is much simpler and much more disturbing. You have been trying to change the picture on the screen while leaving the file untouched. You have been arguing with the output instead of editing the input. And until you understand what the input actually is, nothing you do on the surface will hold. It will work for a day, maybe 2. And then your old life will quietly render itself right back into place, exactly as it was, like nothing ever happened. So we start where Neville started, not with a technique, with the system. Because you cannot hack something you do not understand. Step 0 before any of the moves is this. Your consciousness is not watching reality. It is rendering it. There is a line Neville repeated for 40 years, and people nod at it without ever letting it land. Imagining creates reality. Not imagining helps. Not imagining influences. Imagining creates. The world you are looking at right now, the amount in your account, the way money feels when you think about it, the tightness in your chest when a bill arrives, all of it is output. It is the result of a program that is already running. And the program is an assumption. A single quiet assumption about what is true about you and money. An assumption so familiar that you stopped being able to see it, the same way you stopped being able to hear the sound of your own house. Here is the part that changes everything. That assumption was not chosen by you on purpose. It was installed by your childhood, by what your parents said about money at the dinner table, by every time you heard that rich people are greedy, that money is hard, that you have to struggle for it, that wanting too much is dangerous. You absorbed an assumption before you were old enough to consent to it, and your consciousness has been faithfully rendering that assumption into your bank account ever since. It is not punishing you. It is not broken. It is doing its job perfectly. It is showing you in 3 dimensions exactly what you already assume to be true. The world is a mirror, Neville said. It is forever telling you who you believe yourself to be. And you have been standing in front of that mirror trying to fix your reflection by reaching into the glass. Now hold on to the most important word in this entire video. I am. Those 2 words are the root command. They are the deepest level of access the system has. Whatever follows I am is what gets executed. I am broke, I am bad with money. I am the kind of person things never work out for. I am always 1 step behind. You have been typing commands into the most powerful console in your life, and you didn't even know the console was open. Every time you finish the sentence, I am with a word of lack. You are not describing your situation. You are programming it. You are writing to the deepest layer of the machine, and the machine does not argue, does not judge, does not filter. It simply renders whatever you assume after I am. This is why Neville said the great secret was a controlled imagination and a well-sustained attention firmly and repeatedly focused on the object to be accomplished. The command is always running. The only question is whether you wrote it on purpose. So understand what we are actually doing here. We are not going to go out into the world and fight for money. We are not going to hustle the output. That is the mistake of the entire planet. Everyone is out there with a hammer and chisel attacking the screen, trying to carve a better life into the surface of reality, when the surface is just a projection. You do not edit a movie by scratching the wall it is being projected onto. You go to the file, you change the assumption that is being rendered, and the assumption lives in one place, in your own I am. That is the whole game. You are not hacking the world out there. You are editing the assumption being rendered in here. Say that again to yourself. You are not changing the world. You are changing what is being assumed about the world. The world has no choice but to follow. This is why the rich seem to live by different rules. It is not that the universe likes them more. It is that somewhere, on purpose or by accident, they assume abundance the way you assume gravity. They do not hope money will come. They do not wonder if they deserve it. They assume it the way you assume the floor will be there when you step out of bed. They never check. They never beg. The assumption is so total that the world simply renders it back to them, and they call it luck or talent or timing. It is none of those. It is an assumption held so steadily that reality had no choice but to conform. And the unbelievable part, the part that should make you sit up, is that this is available to you. The console is open. The command is yours to write. Tonight, you are going to write it on purpose. Here are the 5 moves. Step 1. Define the output. Before you touch any technique, you have to decide what you are actually rendering, and this is where almost everyone sabotages the entire process in the first 60 seconds. They sit down and they think about money the way they always have, as a number they are chasing. I want $40,000. I want to be rich. I want financial freedom. And then they try to manifest the chase itself, which is the problem because a chase implies distance, and distance implies you do not have it yet, and the system faithfully renders the not having. You cannot manifest the pursuit of money. The pursuit is lack wearing a costume, so we do something completely different. You do not pick a number. You pick a scene, one short specific scene that could only be true if the money were already yours. Not the money itself, the scene that implies the money. This is the most important distinction Neville ever made about technique. Construct an event, he said, which implies the fulfillment of your desire. An event, a moment, something with a beginning and an end, that your senses could actually experience, not a bank statement floating in the void. A moment. You are opening your banking app, and your eyes land on a balance that makes your breath catch, and then you simply close the app, calm, because of course it is there. That is a scene. Your closest friend grabs your arm and says, "I cannot believe it actually happened for you. I am so proud of you." And you feel the warmth of their hand and you laugh. That is a scene. Someone hands you a set of keys. You sign your name at the bottom of a page, and the pen feels heavy and real. These are scenes. They imply the money without chasing it. And here is why the scene works, where the number fails. A number lives in the future. A scene can be lived right now, inside you, as if it were already happening. The whole secret of this method is moving the event from out there and ahead of you to in here and already done. So make your scene short. Make it sensory. Make it the kind of thing that would only be happening at all if the entire situation were already resolved. If the money were already in, the deal already closed, the problem already gone. Do not show yourself fighting for it. Do not show yourself almost there. Show the after. Show the moment that exists on the other side of the bridge when it is finished and you are no longer wondering. The scene is the destination. And you cannot arrive somewhere you have not chosen, so choose it now. Lock one scene. 1. The mistake is having 10. Pick the single moment that, if it were real, would mean everything else fell into place. That one scene is the command you are about to write. Step 2. Access admin mode. You have your command and the scene. Now you need to write it to the deepest layer, and you cannot do that from where you normally live. During the day you are in user mode. Your conscious mind is awake, alert, reasoning, doubting, comparing what you want against what you see in your account. That conscious mind is a guard. It stands at the door of the subconscious, and it inspects everything that tries to get in. And the moment you imagine wealth while wide awake, the guard checks it against the facts, sees the contradiction, and rejects it. That is why daytime visualization so often does nothing. You are trying to install new software while the security system is fully armed. But there is a window. Every single night and every morning, you pass through a state where that guard stands down. It is the drowsy, heavy, half-dissolved state right before you fall asleep, and the soft, formless state just as you are waking. Neville called it the state akin to sleep. That moment when you are not quite awake and not quite asleep, when your body has gone heavy and still, and your thoughts have started to drift and lose their edges. In that state, the conscious guard is half asleep. The door to the subconscious is open, and whatever you imagine then is not inspected. It is accepted. It is written directly to the file. This is the closest thing to a literal admin password that human consciousness has, and almost nobody uses it on purpose. So here is how you reach it. Lie down. On your back is easiest. Get comfortable, get warm, and let your body go completely still. Then you do nothing but relax deeper and deeper until you feel that pleasant heaviness creep into your limbs, until the idea of moving even a finger feels like too much effort. You are aiming for the edge, the drowsy border, not sleep, the doorway right before it. You will know it because your thoughts go slow and dreamlike, and your sense of your own body starts to fade. Neville described it as immobilizing the body and inducing a state bordering on sleep, a state in which effort becomes impossible. That is the target, that heavy, effortless, sinking calm. That is admin mode. And the moment you feel it, you do not waste it. You move to step 3 because this window does not stay open long. Step 3. Run the command with feeling from the end. Now you are in the drowsy state. The door is open and you have your scene ready. This is the moment of the actual hack. And there are 2 things you must get exactly right, because this is where the power is and this is where people leak it. The first thing, you do not watch the scene. You enter it. There is a world of difference between seeing yourself checking the balance and being the one who is checking it. When you watch yourself from the outside, like a movie, you are confirming distance. You are over here, the rich version of you is over there on the screen. That changes nothing because you are still assuming separation. So you go inside. You see the scene through your own eyes, your hands, your phone, your room. You are not looking at the person who has the money. You are the person who has it, looking out at the moment from within it. Neville was relentless about this. Do not see yourself getting it. Be the one who already has it, looking out at the world from that state. The second thing, and this is the one Neville called the secret of it all, feeling. Feeling is the secret. You can picture the scene in perfect detail, and if there is no feeling in it, nothing is written. The image is just the carrier. The feeling is the command. So inside the scene, you reach for the emotion that would naturally be there if it were genuinely happening. And notice as it is usually not excitement. It is usually relief. It is the quiet exhale of a problem that is finally, completely over. It is safety. It is the deep settled calm of someone who simply does not have to worry about money anymore. That heavy, warm, it is handled feeling. Find it, and then feel it as real now, not as something you hope to feel someday, as the actual emotional fact of this present moment. You are living from the end, from the reality in which it is already done, and letting that end feeling soak through you while the door is open, and then you repeat the scene, gently like a loop. Run it, feel it, let it fade, run it again. Each pass, let it get smaller and more natural and more believable until it stops feeling like something you are doing and starts feeling like something you are simply remembering. That is the signal. When the scene loses its drama and starts to feel ordinary, almost boring, like an old memory of something that obviously already happened, that is the moment it has been written. You have moved it from imagination to assumption. You let that be the last thing in your mind, and you let yourself fall asleep right there, inside the finished reality. You have just run the command, but running it once is not the same as keeping it. Which brings us to the step that decides everything. If this is already cracking something open for you, do one thing before we go further. Drop the word render in the comments. Just that one word. It tells me you understand that your life is an output, not a sentence, and it pins this idea to the top so the people who need it find it. Render. Then come back, because the next step is the one almost everyone fails, and it is the reason their manifestations collapse. Step 4, lock it. Refuse to contradict. This is the step. If you remember nothing else from this entire video, remember this one, because this is where it all falls apart for almost everyone, and once you see why, you will never make the mistake again. People do steps 1 through 3 beautifully. They define the scene, they reach the drowsy state, they run the command with real feeling, and they fall asleep certain that it worked. And then they wake up. And within an hour they have already destroyed it. Not with a big mistake. With a small automatic invisible one, they check. They open the banking app to see if anything changed. They look around at the same apartment, the same bills, the same numbers, and they feel that little sink of disappointment that's still not here. They text a friend and complain about money out of habit. They catch themselves thinking, I hope this actually works this time. And every one of those moves is a command. Every single one. Remember step 0, the console is always open, I am is always executing. So when you check the balance and feel the lack, you just typed, I am still broke into the root. When you complain, you executed it again. When you wonder if it worked, you assumed it has not, and the system renders your assumption, not your wish. You spent the night writing a new file, and then spent the morning overwriting it with the old one. That is why it works for 2 days and vanishes. You did not lose the manifestation, you reverted it, by hand. So step 4 is a discipline, and it is brutally simple to understand and hard to do. After you have run the command, you refuse to contradict it. You do not reopen the console to check on it. You do not go back in to see if it is working, because the act of checking is itself the assumption that it might not be, and that assumption is what renders. You let it be done. Neville said it as plainly as it can be said. Remain faithful to your idea. Faithful, even when your eyes show you the opposite, especially then. Because the entire test of this is whether you will believe the unseen reality you assumed, or the seen reality your senses are reporting. And your senses are always reporting the old render. They have to. The new one has not finished loading yet. So when you look at your account and it is still low, that is not failure. That is just the screen still showing the last frame. If you react to it, you cancel the new command. If you ignore it and stay faithful to the end, the screen has no choice but to catch up. This means you take command of one thing above all else, your inner conversations. All day long, under your breath, in the back of your mind, you are talking to yourself, and you have no idea how constant it is. Most of it is a running commentary that confirms your old life. Did you see how much that cost? I can't afford that. Why is it always like this? That stream is the assumption broadcasting itself, hour after hour, writing the same broke command thousands of times a day. Neville taught that you must control these inner conversations because they are the truest indicator of what you actually assume, far truer than the affirmation you said once at night. So you begin to listen. You catch the old conversation as it starts, and you do not argue with it. You replace it. You return quietly to the conversation you would be having if the scene were already true. The relief, the calm, the casual, settled certainty. You keep the inner talk aligned with the end, all day, as a practice. This is the work, not the visualizing, the refusing to contradict. Hold the assumption when the world is screaming the opposite, and you have done the one thing almost no one is willing to do, and the one thing that actually works. Step 5. Correct the past every night. Revision. Now there is one more force working against you, and it runs all day whether you notice it or not. The day itself. Every day hands you a stack of small moments that quietly reinforce the old assumption. The card that gets declined, the price you flinch at, the conversation where you said you were broke, the moment of stress when you looked at a bill. Each of those moments is a tiny re-render of lack, and they pile up, and they keep the old file warm and active, even while you are trying to write the new one. So Neville gave us a tool to go back in and edit the source, and it might be the most powerful technique he ever taught. He called it revision. Here is how it works. At the end of the day before sleep, you review the day in your mind, but you do not review it as it happened. You scan it for any scene that reinforced lack, any moment that confirmed the old assumption, and you find the one that stung the most, and then you replay it. But this time, you rewrite it. You imagine the scene unfolding the way it would have if you were already the person who has everything handled. The declined card is now approved, smooth, effortless. The stressful bill is now nothing, paid without a thought. The complaint you made is now a calm, confident remark from a person who simply is not worried about money. You replay the corrected version in the drowsy state with feeling, until the new version feels more real than what actually happened, until the corrected scene is the one your mind accepts as true. This is not pretending, and it is not denial. Understand the mechanism. In this system, the outer event was an effect. It was a render of an assumption. So if you go back and edit the cause, the assumption, you change what gets rendered going forward. You are not lying about the past. You are editing the file that produced it, so it stops producing more of the same. Neville lived by this. He said he never let a day go by without revising it. Never allowed a single unpleasant scene to be recorded as final. Because every unrevised scene of lack is a vote for the old life, cast right before you sleep, written straight into the open door, so you close that door clean. Every night you sweep the day, you find the lack, and you re-render it as abundance. You go to sleep with the corrected reality as the last thing written. Do that nightly, and you stop reinforcing the prison while trying to escape it. And now the question that is burning in you, the one your logical mind has been holding back this entire time. But how? How does the money actually arrive? If I am not out there chasing it, not making the calls, not forcing the plan, where does it come from? And this is the final piece, the part that asks you to trust the system completely, and it is the part the rich understand instinctively and the struggling never believe. You are not responsible for the how. You are never responsible for the how. The how is the one part of this that is not your job. Neville called it the bridge of incidents. When you assume the end, when you genuinely take on the feeling of the wish fulfilled and hold it without contradicting it, a series of events begins to unfold on its own that carries you from where you are to where you assumed yourself to be. A bridge of incidents. A chain of small, seemingly ordinary, seemingly coincidental events that link the present to the end you locked in. A phone call you weren't expecting. A name that comes to mind for no reason. An offer, a conversation, a door that opens that you didn't knock on. Each one looks like luck, each one looks unrelated. But strung together, looking back, they form a perfect bridge from the old reality to the new one. And you could never have planned them because most of them were not yours to plan. They involved other people, timing, circumstances entirely outside your control. That is exactly the point. The end was your job. The bridge is the system's job. This is why you do not chase and do not force and do not lie awake trying to engineer the path. The moment you try to dictate the how, you reveal that you do not actually believe in the end, because a person who knows it is done does not micromanage the delivery. You assume the end, you stay faithful to it, you refuse to contradict it, you revise the day each night, and you let the bridge build itself. Your only task is to keep standing in the end and to take the natural, obvious steps that present themselves along the way, the ones that feel like they are coming to you, rather than ones you are straining to force. Assume the end. Let the universe arrange the means. That is the entire instruction. Now I want to go back to step 4 for a moment, because I told you it is the one almost everyone fails, and I want to make absolutely sure you do not. There is a specific feeling that ruins people, and it is so subtle that they never even recognize it as the thing destroying their results. It is impatience disguised as checking. A day passes after you run the command, and a quiet voice says, "Let me just see if anything is moving." And you look. You glance at the account. You scan your messages for the opportunity. You study your circumstances for signs. And it feels harmless, even reasonable. But understand what just happened underneath. To check whether it has arrived is to assume it has not. There is no neutral way to check. The very act contains the assumption of absence, and the assumption of absence is exactly the command that renders absence. A person who knows the package is already in the mail does not run to the mailbox every 10 minutes. The running to the mailbox is the confession that you do not believe it was sent. So the discipline is not just to avoid complaining, it is to kill the checking, to let the thing be done so completely that you lose interest in monitoring it, the way you have lost interest in monitoring whether the sun will rise. And here is the deeper reason this is so hard, the reason it takes real strength. Your senses are loyal to the old reality. They have to be. Their entire job is to report the current render, and the current render is the last assumption you held, not the new one you just wrote. So for a stretch of time after you run the command, your eyes and your circumstances will keep insisting that nothing has changed. This is not evidence that it failed. This is simply the screen still displaying the previous frame while the new one loads. But this is the exact gap where almost everyone breaks. They run the command, they look at the unchanged world, and they conclude it did not work. And that conclusion is itself the new command, the one that cancels everything. Neville said it without flinching. The senses will deny that your desire is fulfilled. They will argue with you loudly with apparent proof, and your one job, the whole test of your faith, is to deny the denial, to look at the evidence of lack and refuse to accept it as final, to say, in effect, I do not care what the screen shows, the file is already written. That is what it means to remain faithful to your idea, not faith in the absence of contradiction, faith in the teeth of it. Let me make the inner conversation piece even more practical, because this is the lever that moves your whole day. From the moment you wake, you are narrating. A silent voice runs almost without pause, and that voice is not describing your life, it is dictating it. Most people's inner voice is a defense attorney for their poverty, endlessly building the case for why money is hard and why it never works out for them. And every sentence it speaks is a vote, cast straight into the open console for more of exactly that. So you become a watchman over your own mind. You start to catch the conversations as they begin, the worry about a bill, the comparison to someone richer, the rehearsal of some future disaster. And the instant you catch one, you do not wrestle it. You simply turn. You return to the conversation a person living in your fulfilled scene would naturally be having. Not a forced affirmation shouted over the fear, but the easy, almost lazy inner talk of someone for whom money is simply not a problem anymore. The relief is the tone. The certainty is the tone. You hold that tone again and again, hundreds of times a day, and slowly the default narration itself begins to change. And when the narration changes, the assumption has changed, and when the assumption changes, the world is forced to follow. This is the real work of manifestation. It is not the 5 minutes at night. It is the 10,000 small returns during the day. And do not underestimate what you are really building here, because this goes deeper than money. Every time you hold the new assumption against the pressure of the old evidence, you are not just manifesting a number. You are becoming a different person at the level of identity, at the level of I am. The broke version of you was not defined by an empty account. It was defined by a set of assumptions about what is possible, what is deserved, what is safe to want. When you change the assumption and hold it, you are uninstalling that entire identity and writing a new one. And the money, when it comes, is almost a side effect. It is the outer evidence of an inner shift that already happened. This is why Neville said to dare to assume you are the man you want to be, because the assumption persisted in hardens into fact. The man you want to be is not someone you are trying to become out in the world through effort. He is someone you decide you already are on the inside, and then refuse to undecide no matter what the world shows you. Hold that, and the world rearranges itself around the new man. It has no other choice. It only ever reflected the old one. So let's put it all together, because tonight is the night you run it. Step 0. The thing under all of it. Your consciousness renders reality. I am is the root command, and you do not fight the world, you edit the assumption. Step 1. Define the output. Not a number. A single short scene that could only be true if the money were already yours. Step 2. Access admin mode. Lie down. Relax into that drowsy, heavy state akin to sleep where the conscious guard stands down. Step 3. Run the command. Enter the scene through your own eyes, feel the relief as real now, live from the end, and loop it until it feels like a memory. Step 4. Lock it. Refuse to contradict. Stop checking. Stop complaining. Ignore the evidence of your senses and rule your inner conversations. Step 5. Revise the day. Every night, find the scene that reinforced lack and rewrite it as abundance, and then let the bridge of incidents render the how. 5 moves. A cheat code that has been sitting in plain sight for 70 years, written down by a man who tried to tell anyone who would listen that the world is far more responsive and far more obedient than they ever dared to assume. The reason it stays a secret is not that it is hidden. It is that it is too simple to believe and too disciplined to do. Almost everyone will hear this, feel the truth of it, and then wake up tomorrow and check their balance and complain about a bill and reopen the old file by hand exactly like always. But not you, not tonight. Tonight you lie down, you reach the drowsy edge, you step into the one scene, you feel the relief as real, and you fall asleep in the finished reality, and then you guard it like your life depends on it, because in every way that matters, it does. The money was never the thing you were missing, the assumption was. And the assumption is the one thing in this entire universe that has always, only, completely belonged to you. So choose it. Write the command. And then for once, do not reopen the console, let it render. If this cracked something open, tell me the exact scene you are going to run tonight in the comments. Write it out in one line, make it real, and let me see you commit to it. And if you want the next step, the deeper work on holding the assumption when the whole world is screaming at you to abandon it, that is what the next video is for. I'll see you there. Now go run your command.